Big topic, and I want to get a lot of people's opinions on it. I don't trust anyone's opinion more than the guy that we have on the phone right now, and I'm excited because I think this is officially the first time we've had him on Ike Live, and I appreciate him coming on so much. The one and only Skeet Reese joins us on the phone tonight. Skeet?
What's up, playa?
How you doing, Skeet? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm at the Hook Big Fish Classic in Ocean City, Maryland right now.
Ocean City, Maryland.
It's pretty much a shit show.
Are there any big logs floating out there where you're at?
There's no logs here.
Okay. All right, no, we're talking about we've been hinting around at it, and I value your opinion. We've been talking about this postponement or cancellation or whatever you want to call it. We've had a lot of IMs already come through. I'd say it's about 50-50 from our viewers. People agree or people don't agree. Give me your thoughts, Skeet. And a lot of people out there, want to know your thoughts on it as well.
Well, my personal opinion, they made the wrong decision. The thing is, the Chesapeake as well is probably better than anybody, but the amount of fishable water on that place is insane.
Right.
It's one of the biggest watersheds that we've probably ever gone to.
Yeah.
And the amount of affected water on that fishery was maybe, I'm going to be generous and say it's 5% of it.
Right.
That was affected. And, there's a lot of armchair fishermen out there listening. They bash me. That's fine. But until you're actually out there in the water and you're fishing for a living, you don't understand anything. That there was so much fishable water that guys have a choice. So they could have gone up and floated it within the log, saying it was unsafe. But the fact is, there was, I don't know, there's a whole lot of other rivers that were fishable that were not flooded, that had no debris. Unfortunately, I understand Bass's take on it. I mean, they're looking from a liability standpoint. They're trying to cover their bases. When they got fishermen that are worried about the water they're fishing being hampered, and then it becomes a fear factor. It's like, oh gosh, what am I going to do? Get the bass now. I'm worried about hitting a log. I get it.
Yeah.
I'll hit logs. That's fun out. I've blown lower units off. I've ripped motors off. I've done all that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in some fisheries, yes, it would have made a huge impact. But the amount of fishable water that was left on Chesapeake Bay was astronomical.
Yeah. Did our body of anglers having a bad practice affect the decision not to fish this event?
My gut decision is yes. I don't know the honest answer. I would be speculating. But I do know that, yes, it was a tough practice. I mean, I had as horrible practice as probably anybody, but I was still optimistic about going out and just going fishing and doing my job and catching what I had to catch. But I do know that, from what the comments I heard from the board, the advisory board, and the comments the advisory board was getting from their group of anglers that they reached out to was that, there was a lot of them that felt like, there was, and I know a portion of them were fishing the flats.
Right.
And so when their water got blown out, they're like, well, I got nowhere else to go, so what am I supposed to do? But because fishing was tough.
Right.
And guys are fishing all day and getting no bites, 1 bite, 2 bites this time. They just assume not have the tournament and get rid of it, period.
Yeah. Isn't that scary? I mean, that's scary to me that the sport has gotten to the point where a bad practice from a portion of anglers is a means to get an event canceled. That's scary to me, man.
Well, I mean, we can speculate on this. We can argue it's, whose fault. We can point fingers. The fact is, it is what it is. It happened.
Right.
Bass, they felt they made the decision that was best for them. They want to say it was done for the anglers. And they're in a tough predicament over this as well.
Right.
So this was not an easy decision for them, and I feel for them. I mean, this was impactful in a lot of ways. It impacted everybody, the community, bass, the anglers. We're all impacted by this in a negative way. But dude, in the end, in my opinion, we could have fished. Whether did the tournament get canceled because the guys having a yeah, that's possible.
Skeet, let me ask you this real quick too. Here's the other thing that caught my eye, and I wanted to see if you saw this too. Do you feel like I don't know the right word? Brian the Carpenter, you got a dictionary there. Was Bass semi deceitful? Maybe it's not the right word, or maybe cover up. I don't know what the right word here is. I'm looking for the right word. Post cancellation, misleading might be the right word. Was Bass a little misleading when they sent up media guys way up the Susquehanna the day it was canceled to show floating debris 2 bridges up the Susquehanna?
Did Peter get used?
Yeah.
So as a fan of the sport and as an angler and watching it, that's how I took it. They set themselves up to be able to make the decision,
right,
and justify their decision. That's how I interpret it, and that's my interpretation. I could be completely wrong on it, but yeah, when they show pictures of logs in the river, way upriver, flooded and nasty and chocolate, that for the rest of the world that has never seen a Chesapeake maybe, that's what they see,
right,
and that's why that is the dangerous thing. Yes, if you ran up there. There was a lot of logs to hit up there.
Right.
But like I said, it's the other 290,000 acres of the Chesapeake Bay that wasn't affected. So I still believe that. I mean, it was kind of I read it like you did. It was like, they're just kind of preempting their decision.
I saw a whole lot of pictures of the gates at the Conowingo Dam. And for those of you listening and watching, Brian the Carpenter knows you can't get 10 miles near the Conowingo Dam in a regular bass boat. It's rapids up there.
Well, you can now.
Right.
Just dodge along to get there.
Maybe that's where it would have been won.
Do you remember the Alabama River?
Yeah, the Alabama River is a great example. They let us fish in that flood, and those guys went way up to. They went.
That was like white water. Yeah, that was the craziest.
What's the difference?
Situation I think I've ever seen in tournament fishing. Guys running up there.
The difference is probably what happened on Okeechobee.
Okeechobee was maybe a defining moment this year for canceling events.
Yeah,
could have been.
I think that you're still feeling a rippling effect from that.
Yeah.
And
so it's a good point.
There's probably truth in that. And I mean,
it's a good point.
There's reality in that. There's a whole point to swallow and accept is that we've had trouble, and something like that is definitely and that's a liability. Nobody wants to be put back in that situation to be liable for that, and be accountable for something like that happening again.
Yeah, I agree.
We got a hot lead on the phone.
Okay.
We got Thomas Allen from Bass.
Right now. Wow. Okay, join us right now. Very special guest. Everybody knows him. Thomas Allen from Bass joins us on the phone. Thomas?
Hey, guys, I'm proud you gave me a chance to call in. I've been watching your show forever. Big-time fan, first-time caller.
Yes! Well, and like Skeet, we're so excited to have you on for the first time.
I'm sure.
Now,
this whole discussion, you guys are talking about the cancellation. I've had some thoughts, so if you're ready for them, I'm happy to share.
We'd love to hear thoughts, and we value everyone's opinion. So please.
All right. Well, let me give a little preface here. First of all, I'm from the north. I'm from Minnesota, and I moved to Birmingham, Alabama recently. And being a back-to-back world champion winter driver, I moved to Alabama thinking I could handle just about any winter situation Alabama could throw at me. And I went out, drove around during some winter weather, and proved myself right. I could handle it. I got pulled over by a cop, asking me what the hell I was doing, and I gave him my license, told him where I was from. He said, "You're good to go," and just let me go. I got to thinking, though, after I saw car wreck after car wreck after car wreck, that it's not necessarily how good I am in my car
Yeah.
that I need to be concerned about. It's
Yeah.
how good everybody else is in their car in Alabama that doesn't have experience driving in winter weather.
Right.
So, in, I guess, a little bit of contradiction to your stance, and I believe me, I hear you, I understand you.
Yeah.
I disagree on maybe a couple stances, but I don't disagree on a couple others. Personally, I feel Bass made the best decision, but because you, Skeet, and a bunch of other veterans who are very capable and good at driving in those conditions does not necessarily mean the rest of the field is as good, as capable, and frankly, it is going to make the kind of decision that is not going to jeopardize their lives or their marshal's lives. And so
Yeah.
I feel like the decision was made as a blanket decision
Yeah.
to cover everybody, even though it doesn't necessarily meet up with guys who know the place like you do, and Skeet does. It was made more or less to keep everybody in the whole group under a decision that doesn't set somebody up to be affected by it. Now, we know what happened at Okoboji this year, right? Let's say we went out. Let's say somebody hit a log, that motor came in the boat and crushed one of the anglers or one of the marshals. Everybody would have been all Bass's butt about not canceling the event.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the decision was made, I think, in relation to some of that stuff,
Yeah.
right, wrong, or indifferent. I know it affects people. You get to drive back out there again. If we have it there again, whatever happens, it's going to cost everybody more money, more time. We're all on the water again. It hurts. But I think the right decision was made to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, I agree, and I love that analogy of driving, in Alabama in wintertime conditions. I can tell you get below Virginia, no one knows how to drive in the snow below Virginia, so I can definitely agree with that. But I do want to bring a couple things up with Thomas, and the one is, do the body of anglers as a whole, 110 of the best anglers in the world that fish the elite trail, week in and week out, from Texas to Louisiana to Florida to upstate New York later in the year. Do we not deal with those conditions every event, right? And to give you an example, the running from Bayou Signet in New Orleans to the mouth of Venice has its own risks, and no one ever took that into account in canceling a day of Bassmaster Classic. In fact, I remember them letting us launch in fog that was so thick, guys were running a radar. In fact, the one event that I wrecked, which was on the Sabine, I'm going to go back about 4 or 5 years ago. It was normal water conditions, and I hit a submerged log and put the boat on the water. So don't we assume the risk of hitting stuff, of ejecting a marshal, of spinning a hub, of wrecking don't we assume that risk as professional anglers in every event we fish?
You do. You certainly do. And I think there would have been a lot to have been learned as a fan, as a writer in my case, or a photographer, to see how a very nearly unprecedented flood sequence is picked apart by the best in the world. There's a lot to be learned. I would have loved to have seen it. However, you're right. The situation in Louisiana was certainly questionable, the radar deal. I remember that. I was there. But this, I felt like, in that upper portion, this was worse than that even. Now, you know better than me. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going to say what I've been told. I was told that the flood levels at the dam, and yes, I heard the part about us going up there to take pictures of that. There was pictures, video, this, that, and the other thing that were to add to the drama of the event. But the question is this not nearly an unprecedented flood level from that river and from that dam? Is it close to that?
I'd say it was. I mean, I've been fishing there, maybe not as long as some anglers, but I'd say over 20 years. And it is either the highest or some of the highest water I've ever seen. But once again, the water influx and level that you see in the Susquehanna itself is completely different had you run to the Chester River or Sassafras River or the Elk River, because of the sheer mass of the upper bay absorbing that influx of water, right? So marinas that may be underwater, 2 bridges up the Susquehanna, in the Sassafras, it might just look like a normal high tide up there, and you wouldn't even notice. You know?
I think there's a part of this too that's worth mentioning, is that it was also the current conditions were in high concern, but also the potential future conditions were also in concern. I was sitting on the tarmac waiting to take off out of Baltimore, and a rainstorm came through that had purple and white in it, and I was just curious. I'm a little bit of a weather nut. I looked back when I got home. That rain dumped 4.5 inches of water in that area and its path. And so some of those rivers to the south were swollen. They were getting ugly. They had a lot of debris in them. And not necessarily anticipating that small storm, the decision was made, I think, to accommodate what was likely to come. Now, look, I'm with you. I think that seeing pros dissect a tough fishery at its worst is a great way to learn something. There's a lot of drama. I think there's another side of this, too, is that this is the second event we've postponed this year, which adds to and trust me, I get to go to every one of these. I get to be on the water for all 4 days of the competition, no matter who's in the lead or who wins. And it wears a guy out. I have heaps, and James will echo this. He knows that I'm into the aspect of what it takes. I have heaps of respect for the 107 pros fishing the Elite Series, because it's one of the toughest gigs out there, period.
Yeah.
But at what point do you make a decision that's a blanket decision across the board? At what point do you do that to prevent the tragedy, even though it may not happen, but you make a decision to prevent something that could happen, is more likely to happen under those conditions?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer,
Right.
and I know you guys will agree with this. I would not want Trip Weldon's job
Yeah.
under any situation.
Yeah, and I think you just made a great point. Brian Carpenter, I think Thomas just made an awesome point, is I don't think there's a right answer. I don't think there's a right answer to this. This is a gray area, and at the end of the day, I accept Bass's decision. I don't challenge it whatsoever. That's a tough position to be in, to have to make a call like that. And I don't fault Bass at all for making that decision. And I want to let you know. The thing
I appreciate that. And that's personally, I wasn't in any of those meetings.
Yeah.
I don't know what was said. I was the guy that got up at 11:45 and wrote the story for the website.
Yeah, and that's the truth. I don't second guess their decision. But I tell you what I do. What does scare me, and what I'm worried about. And I've had this conversation with James and Brian and Eric off camera. It scares the hell out of me, Thomas, that guys are having a bad practice, and they are affecting the outcome of what happens. That, to me, is the scariest thing in the world, that the sport has gotten to the point where a handful of guys having a bad practice.
You talk about practice.
A handful of guys having a bad practice affects the decision to keep or stop a tournament from happening. That really, to me, is a changing of the guard. It's a bad thing. I don't want to see that happen. The beauty of this sport is what you said, which is tackle the conditions, tackle the changes, see how these guys do it. These are the best in the world. I want to see guys, now if it's canceled because the DNR and the police and the guys at the dam, and if it's canceled solely because of those facts, I'm all for it. But the moment that it is influenced by 20 or 30 of the 110 that had a bad practice, the sport's in trouble, man. The sport's in trouble.
And further to that point, is it possible that the host city, seeing the bad conditions and how this won't pump up people to come to the Chesapeake?
No, that's 100% true, and that's a tough situation that we have to overcome as an organization. People. There's more people affected than just 107. I mean, it's vast. And Mike, and you and I spent some time in the boat together, shooting videos, working on projects. I think we're on the same page on a lot of areas in life. But I can't 100% agree with you that it was just 20 anglers having a bad practice. I think we're looking. There may have been some of that. I wasn't there.
25.
I can't speak for them. I just don't think that was the only reason the decision got made. There was a lot more factors to be considered, and it's just, there's no easy answer to this, but the bottom line is everybody involved is impacted, and we're going to pay for it. If that means we go back the week before Waddington or the week after Waddington, whatever the case may be, or maybe we don't go back at all, everybody involved is impacted, and there's a lot of truth on both sides, but the bottom line is I think this decision was made to keep everybody alive, considering what's happened this year and in other tough water situations. And I guess let's not put it on one thing as a tough practice. That's probably part of the decision. We can all agree on that, but I think there's a lot more to it than just that.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Okay, Thomas, I appreciate the call. I do want to. Can I call you to the plate on one other topic while we have you here?
Yeah.
And I appreciate you so much calling in and getting another great point of view on this topic. And I'll just be flat out honest with this question: is when this rescheduling happens, or whether it's a rescheduling, a change of date, or a cancellation, whatever it ends up being, will Bass this time take into account, the angler's needs and the angler's prior commitments? Because it surely didn't happen at the Sabine River event.
Well, I can't speak to that 100%. I am just the senior editor at Bassmaster, something I'm proud of, but unfortunately I don't get into those bigger meetings and get to talk with Bruce on a regular occasion. But I think that here's what I would suggest, and I said this to James yesterday. I would love it if the anglers as a group would get together with their representatives to the Angler Advisory Board, or maybe have a big roundtable discussion with some of the officials at Bassmaster and present some of the concerns they have that are of that nature. And instead of having concerns, also have solutions. Because one thing I've learned growing up in a business that largely depended upon my performance, my successes, and my failures, I've also learned that if I don't have a solution to a situation or something that I think might generally work in difference of the original decision, I can't have an impact on those that are making the decision.
Right.
And so my suggestion is figure out a way to get the Elite Series, which was originally created to have the best dudes on the best waters at the best time of year. Let's get back to that somehow.
Right.
But that's not going to happen with you and I having this conversation. It's not going to happen with complaining about a decision that was made on 2 tournaments in 1 year that did hurt everybody. It really did. Right. It's going to happen with all of us coming to the table with solutions.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd like to see happen.
Yes.
Really.
Totally agree, Thomas. It's funny, as you said that, I'm looking at our this Ike Live Facebook IM coming through, and we have just a comment from a viewer tonight, and it's Randy Flowers says the solution to this situation is to fire Mike Malone.
You know what? I got one last thing to say, and I'm going to let you get to the legend himself, because I've been logged on to listen to Randy Flowers.
You and everyone else.
Yeah. I don't know exactly everything that goes into Michael Malone's job, but what I do know is the dude cares a lot about the game. He wants to do the best that he can, but as much as I would not want Tripp's job, I would not want Michael Malone's job as equally as much, because there's no way to keep 107 of the best type A anglers in the world happy.
Right.
So,
that's a tough job. Mike's got a tough job. I do feel bad for him. He has a very, very tough job.
Hey, first-time listeners, first-time caller, I'm going to hang up and listen to your answers. God bless. Boys.
Okay. Thomas Allen, everybody.
Thanks,
wow. That was a good one, man. I'm glad that happened. It's great. Brian Carpenter is great to get a second point of view on every topic, you know?
And I mean, to be fair, we really needed that.
We needed that.
Yeah.
We needed that.